Okay. So let's just start at the very beginning. How did you get interested in pole vaulting? Was it through track or were you specifically in the field portion?
No, actually, I was a gymnast. I started when I was 4 years old, really small, and I practiced gymnastics for 14 years, I think, until I was like 18 years old. And I was in college by that time. So, and I was getting a lot of injuries doing gymnastics. So I decided to quit sports, professional sports, actually. But that time I met my boyfriend, and he is a hurdler in track and field. So I started going to practice track and field without wanting to do it professionally anymore, just like to stay in shape and do some sports. And I met my coach, and he was a pole vault coach, and he knew I was a gymnast. So he tried to like teach me a little bit, like once a week. You should try. And I competed in a national. Uh, I didn't jump that high, but for what I was training, I did it good. So he offers me to actually train to be a professional pole vaulter. That was in 2016. So I started to train harder. And after 4 months, I jumped, I was 10 centimeters less than the national record. So I was like really excited. Uh, I was really happy, but I kind of didn't understand how I jumped that high in that small time training. But my coach told me, like, you are not new in sports. You have been training for a long time, so you have the strength and you have the talent to do it. So yeah, I started professionally since then, and now I'm a professional pole vaulter.
Do you see that a lot of your competition comes from gymnastics or do they get started in pole vaulting? I mean, is your
There's a
story
lot
unique?
gymnastics. No, a lot of people that I compete with, they have done gymnastics. Maybe less than me, maybe a few years or something, but I believe that almost every girl did gymnastics.
And then what is the sport environment like in Peru? I mean, is this unique?
Yeah, actually, we're not much. When I started, we were three girls jumping, and two of them quit. So I was the only girl jumping. I was the first to jump over 4 meters. And for 3 years, I was actually the only pole vaulter in national facility and training. So, but then last year, the girl that had the national record came back to training, and now she's training with me. So we're both of us training, and that's really good for me because like having competition every day, it motivates you to jump higher. Because when you are training alone and jumping alone, sometimes you get less motivated to like train and go. And then they were two girls that did gymnastics. They were younger than me, so they knew that after I quit gymnastics, I passed to do pole vault, and they contact me and they start doing pole vault like 2 years ago. So now they do pole vault. One of them, she just started college in the U.S. She moved because of pole vault. She got a scholarship and she's doing pole vault there. And the other girl, now she's studying in Europe doing pole vault too. So now we are again only two girls here in Peru. But yeah, it's a small world. In Peru, pole vault is not very known.
Yeah, I mean, when I think of pole vaulting, it's strictly within the confines of track and field. I mean, I wouldn't assume that you had come from anywhere else. So that's really interesting that you have this little pod of you guys that have all come from gymnastics.
Yeah, actually, I believe that if I didn't do pole vault, I'm not that good in other events in track. Actually, I'm not that fast. I don't jump that high. but I have the strength in what I learned to do the skills and the pole vault, because like I can put upside down really fast, and I have strength in my arms, so it's easier for me that part. But I struggle the last years training the other part, like running, jumping, because of course I need that too.
And then you said 4 months into your pole vaulting career, you were basically at the
Yeah, I
the
was really close
uh,
to the national record after four
yeah.
months. That was like really excited, but actually psychologically, it was really hard because I didn't believe that I was capable of doing what I was doing. So I kind of like got stuck for a month after. I jumped 370 that year. And then the next year I started jumping 340. So it was like really less. But what my coach told me, it's like the first year I jumped, I didn't knew what I was doing. I was just jumping. And the year I was learning the technique. So when you learn, you get like a little dumb at first. And then I started to increase the height again, but knowing what I was doing, like actually having better technique, and that allowed me to keep jumping higher every year.
Was it difficult when that disconnect set in, when you're training more specifically but jumping less height?
Yeah, actually, it was hard because I thought I was going to be able to jump like the same height because I was like training technically better. But the when you send the order from your brain to your muscles to do it, sometimes when it's something new, they don't do it as you want, because like sometimes I imagine doing the jump like really like perfect jump, and when I try to do it, I just can't do the whole thing as I want. So I think it's part of learning something new. And yeah, I started jumping better after that.
And was it difficult because you entered the sport pretty late?
Yeah, actually, I was old for sport. I started when I was 19, oh no, 20 years old. So usually they start when 14, 16 years old. It's a good age to start doing pole vault. But I was kind of old, so it was good for me to jump that high that fast because I don't have that much years to do pole vault. Like sports have, you cannot do like that professionally speaking for that long. You can do sports all your life, but professionally, it's not that hard. It's hard to keep jumping at that level.
What is I mean, say you start at 14. How long are you pole vaulting at your peak?
I think the for what I know in pole vault history, they start like in 14, 16 years old, and they got to their peak when they are like 25. Like after 10 years, 10, 15 years, they got like to the peak. And the ones that you see usually in the worlds competing and in the Olympics, they have been jumping for over 10 years. So they have a lot more experience.
And when you see those athletes, I mean, when you're competing against them, how does that make you feel? Because you're on the real newer end of the spectrum.
Yeah, at first it was kind of scary because I didn't believe I was capable of jumping the same of other girls, because I like, oh, they have been training for 6 years. I just started a year ago, and that affected. I believe that affected the way I jumped, because I started focusing on that instead of what I was doing, and I start to stop believing in myself. That So yeah, when I got to international competitions, and at first I didn't jump as I used to jump in training. And that's a psychological thing. Like I got really scared and nervous and tried to do more. Like, oh, I need to jump that high, but stop thinking about the technique. And that affected the results.
What is the sports psychology atmosphere like in Peru? I mean, are there people who are in your corner if you were to have these kind of mental health issues?
Not much. They have like in the it's called IPD. It's the like the sport organization, and they have some psychological teams, but they are few. And actually, I have tried to talk with them, but I believe that you need someone you can trust and you feel comfortable to. And I haven't met someone that do that with me. So like right now I'm alone training. I don't have that help. My coach helps me a lot. He tries to understand me. His daughter studied psychological, yeah. So she taught him some things like how to manage me and like to be patient, to try to understand me, and he helps me a lot. But I don't have like a special team for that.
And then can you work me through the practice that you guys have to go through in order to be good at pole vaulting? I mean, how
Sure.
much of a new field is pole vaulting training versus what you were doing with gymnastics?
It's totally different actually, because like I never did weights when I was a gymnast, and now I do 1 to 2 times a week weights to get stronger. And I do some days technical for running, technical for jumping, and then what I like and my coach liked me to do, it's like we go to the gymnastic facility to kind of play because it's important to have that skills for the pole vault. So we go to the gymnastic facility and we use the bars to get upside down and do some flips. And he always want me to keep having fun, and he knows I like that. So we kind of do it in a fun way, but technically. Like he did, okay, do a flip, but move your arms like this because you need to push the pole like that. And yeah, it's totally different, but my coach tries to still give me some of the gymnastic I liked. So I like always have fun and I'm keep motivated. And especially the different part that it's really hard for me is the running, because he send me sometimes when we are in off season to run like 300 meters, and I get really really tired. I actually don't like that part, but I know it's an important part for me to do what I want.
And then can you work me through a week of practice? So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I mean, what are you doing? What kind of work are you doing? How long is actually designated for pole vault repetitions?
Yeah, it depends of the season, but usually in off season, I train twice a day from Monday to Friday. Only one day I train once a day because I rest in the morning, and on Saturday I train too, and Sunday is my off day. And I do 2 times a week weights in the morning, and 2 to 3 times a week jumping in the pit, like repetitions. One day we focus with a small run up to do the technique, and then with long run up to do the takeoff. So we do a specific part each day, like focus to get better with the arms than with the takeoff. So we like, because when they correct you everything at once, your brain doesn't understand it. So my coach always wanted me to focus in one thing. And then we do Also with hurdles, like little exercises to get better in running, and then in jumping too. We do in bars like pull-ups, everything like with the strengths. Actually, I train 1 hour to an hour and a half in the morning. I do some strength exercises and cardio. I run, like I do 20 minutes running to get in shape. And then in the afternoon, I do the pole vault or weights. It's a 3 hours training actually. So I think I train like 4 to 5 hours a day from Monday to Saturday. So yeah, it's a lot of hours.
And then what is going through your head before you take off?
I try to focus in one thing, usually in the thing I'm kind of lack of, like, because when I run with the pole, sometimes I think I'm crazy, like running with the pole and just jumping, but I try to focus on the moving my arms fast because that's the first step I have to take. And the other parts, I think my body, it's always like I just do it. I learn it. So I focus in one step, like running and moving my arms forward. That's the only thing I think about through the running, like run, arms, arms, arms. That's the only thing I try to focus, because when I move my arms late, it's when I cannot complete the jump, because I like get, it's hard to explain the technical part, but I get with my arms behind and I cannot like move the pole. So sometimes you get back to the track, and that's the dangerous part. So like always my coach told me, like, if you do the things right, it's not dangerous while you're jumping. But if you are afraid and you don't do what you are taught to do, that's the dangerous part. So I just focus in my arms and jump, arms and jump.
There seems like there's a very small margin for error.
Not
How?
much,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's not like you have to stick it in a little hole. It's like a big thing, and it's not that exact. But of course, you need to have your mark in your steps so you don't get too close or too behind from the takeoff. So yeah, it's a lot of practice. We do a lot of run ups outside the pit, like in the track. We run and put the arms up a lot of times. So we have like an official run up. Like I start in, I don't know, 30 meters, and when I'm in 14 meters, I need to start moving my arms. So I put my shoe or something like a mark, so I know when I have to start moving my arms. And yeah, it's a lot of practice for that.
And then how do you deal with failure? Because sometimes things don't go right. Sometimes you don't
Yeah.
clear the height.
Yeah, actually, it's really hard. For me, this past year was really, really hard because I was focusing on going to the Olympics. It was a really big goal, but I knew I could. So I was training for that. And I started 2020 really with really good jumps. But after that, the pandemic started. So I wasn't able to keep training. And I was in Peru. We were in quarantine like for 6 months, maybe. So it was really hard to keep motivated and keep training. I did some stuff in my house, but not much, because I got like not motivated to do it. And then when I got back to training, I didn't have much time to like get in shape again. And I didn't have, I could go to track, but only on 1 hour a day and alone. And sometimes my coach didn't go because he needed to coach the other group and they weren't allowed to go to the track. They were training in the streets because only 9 people, I think, in Peru were allowed to go to the track in that time. So it was really, really hard. And I went to actually to Germany to try to keep training and compete. And when I got there, the pandemic started, like the COVID cases started to increase in Europe again. So they closed everything. So I was like trying to escape from one place to the other. And I didn't want, like, I was training, but I couldn't compete. And I believe I'm really competitive. And if I don't compete, I lose my focus, like my goal. So I started getting really sad, really frustrated, and missing my home and being alone there. So I came back, and actually I decided to quit because I was like, right now I'm not going to be able to qualify to the Olympics. I postpone my professional life to be doing this. I'm a business engineer, and like I wasn't working in a big company because I wouldn't have the time I need to train. So I was working in a family business and doing that, but I wasn't feeling I was doing enough for my life. So I decided to quit and focus in my professional life and doing pole vault for a hobby. So I went like not every day and training, and I started competing like that. And the hard thing for me, as I told you, the girl that had the national record came back to training, and she was training really hard and I wasn't. So of course, when we start competing, she started to increase her heights, and I was like stuck in the height. I was jumping 380, maybe my best height was 425, but I was jumping 380 by that time. I knew I couldn't jump higher if I wasn't training that much. But she won in the nationals, and that was like really hard for me at first because it was like, I was like the only one, I was the national champion and she won. But then I understand, like, I wasn't training much. You can't ask for more. And I qualified to the South American Championship like that. So it was a month from the South American Championship, and I started training harder for that, but it wasn't enough. And in that championship, it didn't go well for me. And that's when I decided to come back again because it's really hard to lose because I'm really competitive and I want to win, of course. But I knew that I wasn't doing enough to be able to win. So that's when I came back to train. And that was last year. Yeah. I haven't been able to compete again. Like I started to train for that. So I hope this year goes really good for me. I'm motivated again. I'm happy I'm training. I'm trying not to focus in longer goals because I don't know what is going to happen next year. Or like I'm already almost 26 years old, and well, actually I'm getting married. And I'm planning that life too. So I'm trying, like, while I can, I'm training and I'm happy and I'm enjoying the time. So I hope it goes really good for me this year because psychologically speaking, I'm in a better place than I was last year.
Paris 2024.
Not sure. I don't want to think like that far because actually I don't know what I'm going to do after. But if the situation allows me, I will try for sure. Like I'm enjoying every training and I'm training, and I'm really excited for what it's coming in the next competitions. I'm kind of nervous and a little bit afraid of not doing it right, but I'm training for that. So I hope it goes good. And I want to focus like competition by competition. So let's see, maybe I do. And we will remember this.
Yeah, when you make it to Paris 2024, we can look back at this and say, remember when Nicole was on here and she was
Yeah.
talking about how she was going to quit and now she's where she is, but prior to 2020, when you were still competing, you had and you set an indoor record for Peru, you set your personal best in Mexico City in 2020. I mean, how important were those records to wanting to come back?
Uh, Actually, really important. For me now, my next goal it's beating my record. So like more than accomplish something great, like in a competition or winning a competition, I want to be able to beat my old record, to be in that level again, like to jump that high again. So since I started, actually, I jumped every year a bit higher. I started with 370, 380, 410, and 420, and then 425 every year. So, but like last year was a different year, 2020, as I told you. But I'm really excited for this year. And that's what motivated me to come back, like be able to beat myself, like compete with me, not with others, like just to be able to do better.
How impressive is it when you sit back and think to yourself that you hold two Peruvian records?
It's really like it makes me really proud of what I accomplished and seeing what I've been through, like the trainings and like it's hard to train. It's fun, but actually you get really tired and like being able to do that for all those years and seeing the results that I got the national records. Um, it makes me really proud of what I'm capable of and knowing that when you accomplish something and you like if you focus on a goal and you do all the steps to do it, like when you really do it, you can see the results. Like I really accomplished what I wanted when I started, like in 2016. My first goal was beating the national record, and I not only beat it once, I beat it like many times. I think it was like 5 times because I like it was 390. I jumped 405, and 2 days after I jumped 410, and a year after I jumped 416, then 420, and then 425. Yeah, so like every time I did it, it was like a big accomplish of what like all the training pay off.
So you've beat your own record 4 different times.
Yeah.
That's
And
incredible.
hopefully this year I beat it once, one more time or more.
How important is that kind of step tangible improvement for your continuation in the sport?
Not much. Actually, in Peru, in the track and field federation, there's a lot of problems because usually they help only because they know them or not because they accomplish something. Like actually, for Peruvians to get paid in sports, you need to win a medal, an international medal. So when I won my first medal in a South American championship, we asked for the help, and they said that they couldn't pay me because in that competition there were only 3 countries competing in my event, and for them to give me the help, it has to be with more than 5 countries. But as I told you, like pole vault is not very known in Peru and neither in South America. We're not much. So it was really hard to get to an international competition in South America, having more than 5 countries competing in pole vault. So okay, next time, like in 2020, I won a medal too. And they said the same thing because we're only Brazil and Peru competing in that competition. So they didn't care about my records. And my coach tried to tell them, like, she just started 4 years ago, and every year she did the record and she's getting better. So, like, you can see the progression and you can help her to do better. But that's a big problem in Peru. They want you to be world champion for them to help you. But it's not, I believe it's not how it works. You need to help them to get to that goal, because it's like getting alone, it's 10 times harder. But yeah.
And I mean, so you're not making any money from pole vaulting?
Not at all. I
Wow.
have two sponsors, but they give me clothes and shoes and drinks. Like, I have Gatorade and Under Armour. So, like, they are really, really like a good help for me, but it's not money. So that's why I got, like, last year really, really wanted to quit, because I was investing a lot of time in this and I wasn't gaining anything. And it's not about the money. It's not like, ah, I want to gain money. It's because, like, I want to live good, like have my place, have my, like, being able to not depend of my parents. I'm already 26 years old, and right now I live in my parents' house. They help me because I'm not able to live by myself right now, because from sports that I invest all my time, I don't get any money. So that's why I decided, like, to quit last year, to focus and start working in other things, so I be able, because of course I love sports, I love pole vaulting, but I have my life too, and I have other goals too. Like, I'm like getting married, having kids in a time, and for that you need to be able to have your own economy. And so it's a hard decision, like, okay, I enjoy this, I want this, I really want to jump higher, but at the same time, like, I'm not doing anything for my life after.
How many athletes are in a similar position to you where they're not getting paid and relying completely on sponsorships?
There's a lot, actually. They are in track and field, I think they are like four of them being paid by the state, or only in track. And there are a big group of like the running, like the marathons, that they are getting paid because they have a lot of results. But I think it's like four or five people getting paid in pole vault, I believe, if I'm not wrong, but not much. There's a lot of people like me that had a lot of big results, but they didn't got any pay, any help or any sponsor, and they quit. And that, I think that's a big reason why we don't have that much that good athletes in Peru, like in any sport, because they need to start working, and they quit.
And then, I mean, that makes the pool of competition much smaller.
Yeah, so it's harder to increase, because what makes you jump higher to be better, it's to have more competitions, more people competing. And actually, there's one competition they do in Peru, actually in every country. It's called Grand Prix, and they do it in Peru, in Chile, and in Colombia, but they don't do all the events in that competition, and they invite people from other countries, and you get paid if you win. It's not much, but it's a help. And in Peru, the big problem is that they choose the events they are going to do in that competition because what it's better for them, not for the athletes. So this 2020, pole vault should have been in that competition, pole vault women, because we are two pole vaulters. And in the South American Championship, the other girl got third, and I got fourth or fifth place. I'm not sure. So we needed more competitions that they didn't put our event in that competition, and neither the other years. being me doing the national record. I was doing national record every year, but they didn't do that competition for me, my federation. So it's really hard because you think like they cut your wings. Like you only you want to do a lot of things, but you had obstacles all the way.
Yeah, that's incredible in a bad way.
Yeah, it's hard. That's why we don't have a lot of athletes, because not a lot of people want to deal with this.
And then how long have your other competitors been in the sport, just in Peru?
Um, in pole vault, the other girl, she started when she was like 14 or 15 years old, but then she quit for 4 years and then she came back. So, and she's my age. So I think kind of like me, 7 years or 8 years, but like in total it's like 10 years or 15 or 11 or 12 years, but quitting for 4 years. So
And then it seems like that is kind of the norm to step away from the sport.
yeah, a lot of people step away from the sport, and not because they want, it's because they need. They have family to support, they need to work, they like I believe training professionally and representing your country, it's a job, because it's a full-time job. Actually, you need to train a lot, you need to recover too, you need physical attention, and you need to rest too. It's part of your training. But in Peru, sometimes you cannot do that, because even if they pay you and they help you, it's not enough. So, like my boyfriend, yeah, but actually fiance now, he did pole hurdles, and he's really good at it. But there was a time he had to decided to start working, so he was doing working and track and field at the same time. And that's how he's training now. So it's really hard for him, because he wakes up really early, he trains a little bit, then he goes to work, then trains again. So he doesn't have the recovery he needs.
Yeah, that's, I mean, it's difficult to be an elite athlete, period. And then
Yeah.
to feel as though you don't have your country's support is very strange.
Yeah. Yeah. Not, we don't have support. And even um, I know that in the US, it's really hard to get to the national team. It's harder than here, actually. But you have your clubs and you compete for your club and they help you too. And then you go to that level. So you have all the steps in all the competition and a lot of people to compete with to get to that level. And that's why a lot of people that train with me went to another country to try to get better, to try to accomplish their goals.
I mean, how long can you see yourself living like this?
Not much. That's why I said like I'm not sure if I'm going to Paris 2024, because I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to keep training and do what I'm doing, because if like I'm not able to work and train at the same time, I will prioritize my work because I need to leave of something.
How can you as athletes help each other to get that representation? Do you feel
Actually,
like, or do you feel like you're like in a box?
yeah, it's hard for everybody. And I think like everybody knows what we are dealing with and nobody does more, because it's not possible to do more. You try to talk with the federation and they don't help you. You try to talk with the media and they only are focused in football, or the people are not interested in other sports. So there's no place to have money for like not a lot of companies want to invest in us, because they invest in other people that are more known and have more exposure than us, because in Peru we don't have much a sport culture, like to go and watch plays or things like that. in Lima 2019, the Pan American Games, um, a lot of people started to watch more sports, like got more interested in that, but it wasn't enough, because to be able to have more sponsorships and be able to be in more media, um, people need to want to watch us. Because if not, there's no thing to sell in life. I think nothing is free. You have to like give something for them to give you something. So it's hard. It's like you are kind of uh, like they cut your rings. Like you want to fly and they don't let you.
It's actually interesting. I've had a couple people on this podcast who were in Lima for the Pan American Games. And how did you see tourism grow when all of these countries were competing in your country and in your city?
It did grow. I'm not think that much, but it did grow, and we had a lot more exposure, like knowing what it's Lima, Peru, like because usually if you said Peru, there's like Machu Picchu, and that's the only thing like people usually think of Peru. But the Pan Americans games allowed us to be more known and more people coming. But after the Pan American Games, it started the pandemic, so like we didn't have much time to keep growing the tourism.
And then you placed ninth in that Pan American Games in
Yeah.
2019. And then you followed that up with the fourth place finish at the South American Championship. Though it was in the same year. How important was that for your growth?
In the Pan American was really important. I didn't jump as high as I knew I could or I wanted, but it was the first competition I had that big, like I competed with Katie. Then after she was the Olympic champion, she was here competing, and um, it was hard to manage like doing what I know, like technically speaking, and not focusing in the competition. And a lot of people were there just for watching me, actually, because I was the Peruvian competing there. Like they didn't know who I was, but they were like, that's a Peruvian competing in that event. So they were like clapping and helping me. And I was really excited. And for me, being able to be ninth in my first Pan American Games, only with 5 years training, it was big accomplish. Some people were like, but you didn't win, or people that don't know about the sports, or they're like, before the Pan American, you want to win the Pan American Games, and I knew I wasn't going to win. I had only 5 years of experience, and I was going to compete. I was going to do my best, and I could be like fourth or five maybe, but I wasn't there to win. I was there to do the best I could. So I'm happy I was ninth in my first Pan American Games, because it's like a big accomplishment, and you know you can do better in the next ones. You have 4 more years to train and do better, and it's a little step of the career I have.
How important is it to take on that mindset, because you're not going to win everything, and especially with the comparison of experience, you were for sure on the lesser end. So how important was that mindset going into the Pan Am Games to just set yourself up for mental success, even if it didn't show on the podium?
Yeah, it was hard to focus on that. Like I was like, okay, I'm going to do my best. I'm training for this. I did the national record 1 month before the Pan American Games. So I was like really happy for what was coming. And I felt really, really good with all the people there clapping and wanting me to do better. And I think in that moment, it's when you realize like all the training and it's what I enjoy. I enjoy competing. I enjoy making like I think pole vault it's like a show because it's like you jump over a bar and it goes every time a little bit higher. And I love going to there's in some countries they do festivals of pole vault and it's it's really fun. It's I think it's that thing is what I enjoy competing, being there and trying to beat me, trying to beat the other girls, and focus on that was uh, was what make me do a good competition in the Pan American Games. As I told you, I thought I was going to jump better because I jumped like 420 1 month before, and I jumped if I don't I think 4 or 410 in the Pan American Games, uh, but it was really windy actually. So when you do pole vault, when it's really windy, it moves the pole, so it's harder to jump. So mentally, when I start running, usually, as I told you, I only think about moving my arms. But when it's windy, I think about like fighting with the wind. So I don't do all the technical things I should do good. So I think it's a big part of jumping. It's being able to control all the thoughts that are going there and just jump.
What's the mentality between indoor season and outdoor season?
In Peru, we don't have much indoor season. Actually, I only went to one last year in the South American. It was the first of the South American Indoor Championship. And it's I prefer jumping in indoor because we don't have the wind and the temperature because sometimes when it's really, really cold or hot, it's harder. But indoor, I think it's easier, but I haven't had the opportunity to compete much in indoor season because in Peru, we don't have indoor facilities.
But the one time that you did, you set the indoor record for Peru.
Yes.
So you're 1 for 1. I'd call that successful.
Yeah, it was really, really good experience. It was the first time for me jumping in an indoor facility, and I did the national record and I won that competition. So it was a big, really good accomplishment for me. That year was really, really good because I started the year with that in February, and after that I did a national. After that, I did a national outdoor record. Wait a second, I think they are calling. Okay, sorry. Yeah, everything is arranged.
I mean, that 2020 seems to be a pretty good year for you, all things considered, with your records and
Yeah,
the way that you were
it was
performing.
a really, really good year. I'm always pissed about it because the pandemic started in March, and I was like really excited. I jumped only 3 times that year. I started with the South American, and I won the competition national indoor record. And then I jumped in Mexico once. I got the record of that competition, and then a week after, I did the national record. And I came back to keep training and starting to train for the next competitions, and then everything was closed. So that was really hard for me. That's why I like tried to do my best to be able to go to Tokyo. And when I saw Tokyo was getting farther away, I got really sad and frustrated. And that's why, like, after that, I decided to quit because I was investing so much time and money in this, and I was seeing my goal farther away. So it's hard.
And then what can we look forward to coming up for you? Competitions,
Uh,
new records being set?
Hopefully, I'm training harder. I'm really focused for this year. I'm enjoying every training that's really important for the results too. And yeah, hopefully I have more competitions. Actually, we have the indoor South American now, and I was hoping to go and I was training for that, but the federation says that they don't have money. So they are only going to send 4 people of track and field, and I'm not one of them. So I'm not going to the South American Indoor Championship this year. So I'm focusing on competing in the nationals that are in April to jump really high. So I establish a record and saying, okay, now you have to pay for me to go to compete. Because they say like last year I didn't compete good because since I quit and I didn't have any results for the rest of the year in 2021. So they said they are not paying for me to the South American Championship, but they are not even doing a competition before to see if they are just choosing by finger like who of them are going. But I'm already past that and I'm focused on the national that it's in Peru. So I'm competing here and proving I'm still got it. I'm training and I'm able to do it.
What are you at now, height-wise?
I'm training. Actually, I'm in off season. I'm going to start competing in a month. And I'm jumping with 10 steps, 8 steps. That usually my whole career it's with 14 steps. When you jump with more steps, you use bigger poles, you jump higher. So I'm jumping 384 meters with 8 steps. So that's really good because when you go to 10 steps, you jump a bit higher. You go to 12 steps, a bit higher, 14 steps, a bit higher. 2 months ago that we were jumping before starting the off season, I was jumping with the bungee, 420, 420, 430 with the bungee. And now we started off season. So we started to shorten our career, 2 steps, 4 steps, 6 steps. Now we are in 6 and 8 steps. And then hopefully for in the next 1-2 months, because in April we have the nationals, I go to the 14 steps and the bigger poles.
That's exciting. You have a couple months. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I have a couple months to get ready to be my best. And usually we have tests every 3 weeks. So we do long jump and throwing. And right now my results are better than last year. So that's I'm stronger, I'm faster. And that should be able to look in my results in the jumping too.
Well, we'll have to keep up with that. Good luck.
Thank you.
Is there anything else that you wanted to talk about that you think that I missed about your story?
No, I think we cover everything. Yeah, I talk a lot. Actually, I think if it was in Spanish, I could have been talking more and more and more. Because in English, here I don't practice every day. So sometimes I get lost or I forget some words and I try to talk. So, but I think we covered everything. Yeah.
So Spanish is your first language and English is your second?
Yeah.
You speak very well.
Thank you. Yeah, I learned English in school. And when I was little and doing gymnastics, my parents sent me to the US for 2 months to a friend's house every summer to train. So I was able to practice more.
Yeah, I mean, I think it sounds very fluid. I don't think you've forgotten or missed many words.
Yeah.
I think you're doing all right.
Thank you. That's good.
And then this episode will come out on, let me just make sure. This episode is coming out on March 2nd.
Okay.
So between now and then, if you can just send me a picture of you competing that I can use for social media, that would be great.
Perfect.
And
yeah, I will send it to you. I have your mail. Yeah, I have it.
Yeah. So you can either send it to the Instagram direct messages, or you can email me the way that you set up this interview.
Okay. Perfect. Yeah.
And then I'll reach back out to you once this is published. Thank you so much for walking me through what's happening in life.
Yeah, no, thank you. I'm like always happy to talk about it. And it's not about like um telling the people what we are struggling with. It's just like our reality. It's like I'm not pissed about it. I used to be, but it's I just focus on training and getting better. And okay, I'm not going to the South American Indoor Championship, but I'm going to prove them that I'm capable of jump high again, and I'm focusing on the nationals. So if everything goes right, I will be able to go to there's either American Championship, Bolivarian Championship, and other tour. There's three big international competitions this year after that. So hopefully I am able to go there and to jump high every day.
That's so exciting. I hope I want that for you.
Yeah, thank you.
And I'll like I was saying, I'll reach back out once this is published and we'll talk then.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank
Bye.
you. Talk to you soon. Bye.